Ladies and gentlemen, let me share something with you today that might stir something deep within you. There's a reason why some women never fall apart. They've walked through the fire, they've faced betrayal, heartbreak, and been disrespected. Yet they move through the world like nothing ever broke them. Not because they're heartless, not because they're numb, but because something greater is shielding them. There's a power around her, guiding her steps, clearing the way even when it looks impossible. And once you see the signs, you'll realize why she rises every time life knocks her down. That's why no attack ever truly defeats her. So if you are that woman or you're becoming her, don't scroll away. Every second of this message is a reflection of the power you carry inside. To others, it might seem like she's alone, like she's missing something. They might wonder how a woman like that goes through life without needing anyone constantly by her side. No crowd, no fanfare, no dramatic arrival, just her moving in silence and purpose. What they don't see is that she's never actually alone. She's not empty. She isn't chasing applause. She's not craving attention. She's walking with something deep, something most people can't understand because they're too busy chasing distractions. She's lived through too much to lean on temporary people. Her life has seen people come and go like a swinging door. She's been betrayed by those she loved, left alone when she needed someone the most. But she never let that break her spirit. It didn't make her bitter. It made her stronger. It taught her that sometimes people show up only to teach you how to stand tall on your own. And when you finally learn how to walk without needing others, you understand that you were never really alone. You were being protected, set apart, kept safe for something far greater. When a woman discovers how to walk alone, it means she's learned how to listen to her own voice again. Not guilt's voice, not fear's lies, not manipulation's whispers, her own inner voice, the one that speaks truth even when the world tries to drown it out, the one that tells her when to leave, when to distance herself, when to trust, and when to wait. That voice isn't loud, it's sacred, it speaks only when peace is present. That's why she prefers to walk alone, so she can hear it clearly. She's learned not every presence is good for her. Not every crowd is safe. Not every friend is loyal. She's developed the gift of sensing energy, recognizing what doesn't sit right in her spirit, seeing danger even when it smiles sweetly. After spending so much time around the wrong people, solitude became her peace. It's not loneliness, it's freedom. A deep kind of freedom that makes her love her own company. That's what makes her so unshakable. Evil doesn't always come wearing warning signs. Sometimes it blends in, it flatters, it pretends to be kind. And people who are constantly surrounded by others often miss the subtle signs. But not her. She's learned to walk alone. Her spirit is sharp. She doesn't need a warning. She can sense when something is wrong. Her inner self speaks louder than any words, and her silence makes her even more aware. People often ask, how is she okay being by herself? What they don't realize is that solitude taught her how to tell the difference between being wanted and being used. It taught her to stop giving to hands that only take. It showed her that love isn't about begging someone to stay. It's about respecting yourself enough to let them leave. She no longer fears walking away. In fact, she welcomes it because her peace is far too valuable to keep paying for with her energy. What protects her isn't just physical strength, it's spiritual covering. It's the quiet nudge that pulls her out of harm's way. It's the inner whisper that says no even when everything around her says yes. This protection doesn't make a big scene. There are no flashing signs. But it shows up in moments no one else notices. The text she didn't respond to, the meeting she avoided, the offer she turned down that turned out to be a disaster. That's not luck. That's divine protection. And that protection grows stronger in her silence. When there are too many voices around, their noise blocks out her wisdom. Their opinions blur her vision. But when she walks alone, her insight becomes sharper. She listens better. She moves with clarity, not chaos. And that kind of clarity, darkness can't touch it. Some people misunderstand her. They think she's distant or unfeeling, but they don't know that her silence is not a wall. It's her sanctuary. It's where she rebuilds. It's where she hears truth. It's where she becomes solid again. She's not lost. She's not confused. She's not wandering. She's being led. Every step she takes is on purpose. Every choice she makes is rooted in reason. Every quiet space she enters reminds her, even in the presence of dark forces, she is not weak. She's not easily fooled. She's guarded by something higher. Protection doesn't always look like shields and weapons. Sometimes it looks like stillness. Sometimes it looks like a woman walking through life alone but holding the fire of 1,000 warriors within her. So next time you see a woman walking confidently, head high, no one beside her, don't feel sorry for her. Don't think she's missing anything. Understand she's walking in strength. She's walking in alignment. She's in a season where being set apart is her safety. And she's never been more powerful. She doesn't owe anyone her reasons. She doesn't wait for others to show their true colors before trusting what her spirit already knows. Her intuition picks up on things long before anyone acts. When someone steps into her space, she feels it, an energy shift, an invisible tension, a quiet discomfort. It's not fear, it's awareness. She doesn't guess, she knows. She walks into a room seeing not only with her eyes, but with her soul. While others fall for charming words, fake affection, and shiny distractions, she sees straight through it all. She's not fooled by performance, she's not swayed by masks, she's faced heartache, she's looked betrayal in the eyes. She's been wounded and came back stronger. Once you've been through the fire, your soul doesn't just survive, it evolves. Now her awareness is her armor. Her silence is her protection. She notices more than people realize. She pays attention to the tone, the timing, and the feeling behind every word. That strange feeling in your gut when someone's smile feels wrong. She trusts that. That's how she keeps herself safe, not by fighting, not by shouting, but by seeing what others miss. She doesn't need to argue her point. Her spirit already confirms the truth. Sometimes she can't explain it logically, but she feels it deeply. When someone seems perfect on the surface but something feels off, she believes that feeling. She doesn't wait for problems. She doesn't ask for explanations. She just creates distance, because not everything pretty is good for her. Not every door that opens is meant to be walked through. Not every admirer is sincere. That's why she's safe. She doesn't silence her inner voice. She follows it because it's never led her astray. It kept her from falling into another painful cycle. It warned her before chaos could reach her. It saved her when people let her down. She doesn't announce her discernment. She simply moves differently. When things shift, she adapts. No chasing, no pleading, no guilt. She protects her peace without needing approval. She doesn't live to prove anything. She lives to protect everything she's built. Her peace, her clarity, her healing. Darkness isn't always loud. Sometimes it whispers. Sometimes it wears a friendly face. Sometimes it pretends to care. That's why her intuition is her greatest weapon. She's seen kindness used as manipulation. She's had casual conversations that left her soul exhausted. That's why she doesn't judge by appearance anymore. She listens with her spirit. And the more she trusts that sacred truth within, the more connected she becomes. Confusion no longer clouds her path. People who used to drain her can't even reach her anymore. She knows what it costs to ignore that voice. She's done it before. She stayed too long. She gave too much. But she learned. Yes, the lesson was painful, but it was necessary. Now she no longer gives darkness the benefit of the doubt. Her protection is in her awareness. Her power is in her silence. She doesn't have to call it out. Sometimes she just walks away. No drama, no noise, just wisdom, just strength. She doesn't argue with what her soul already knows. If something feels wrong, she believes it. That keeps her ahead, always ahead. Some may call her too guarded, too sensitive, but they don't realize her sensitivity is her gift. It was shaped through struggle. It was refined through fire. It's not a flaw, it's wisdom. She senses the change in the atmosphere. She honors it. That's why manipulation can't reach her. That's why dishonesty shrinks in her presence. She sees right through the act. She doesn't need proof. Her knowing may be quiet, but it's powerful. And that sacred knowing, that deep connection to her spirit, that's what keeps her protected. She can feel what doesn't align with her spirit. She senses trouble before it even arrives. That's why she walks in light, not just the kind others notice, but the type that lets her see clearly from within. And that kind of light, it's untouchable by any darkness. The enemy isn't worth her focus. That's not being soft, it's being smart. She's been through too much to let small-minded people drag her into chaos. She's watched how darkness operates, not always by direct attack, but by pulling her attention away, by unsettling her peace, by trying to cloud her vision. When you begin to see that some people appear just to stir you, not because they're powerful, but because your calm shakes them, you stop giving them the reaction they want. She knows how to walk away, not out of fear, but because she won't waste her fire on pointless fights. She recognizes that some people only show up to stir confusion, test her strength, or tempt her into stepping out of character. But she's beyond that now. She's too rooted, too aware. Growth has taught her that staying silent can be strength, that keeping her space can be protection, and that holding on to peace is a real win. She's come to understand that being protected doesn't always mean being hidden from trouble. Sometimes it means having the inner power to ignore it, to not respond to the call, to avoid the conflict, to stay out of the noise. That's true growth, when every push or button press doesn't rattle you, when you spot the trap and choose to go around it rather than fall in. Some will still try to disturb her balance. They'll twist words, stir guilt, use manipulation just to check if they can still influence her. But she's different now. She's evolved. She no longer reacts with emotion or moves without thinking. She walks with clear purpose. She knows her energy is valuable and won't spend it on those who don't deserve to be in her space. That's the difference between someone who's merely reactive and someone who's truly protected. A woman who's learned to pause before she speaks, breathe before she responds, and think carefully before she acts. She's figured out that some people are just there to drain her, to knock her off track because her focus makes them uncomfortable. When you carry light, darkness always tries to pull you under, but it can only succeed if you let it. So she stays steady. She defends her peace. She lets people believe what they want, say what they will, and assume what they like. Because in the end, her purpose speaks louder than their noise. She's not here to prove she's worthy. She's here to protect her soul. And that unsettles dark hearts. A woman who stays silent, who doesn't react, who lets her stillness speak, it unsettles those used to getting under people's skin. When you don't respond, you strip them of their power. When you choose peace over arguments, they're left arguing with themselves. And when you step away from conflict that's not yours, you hold on to your inner calm. Her protection is in her silence, in the deep wisdom that reminds her every battle isn't hers to fight. Every disagreement doesn't require her voice. Every misunderstanding doesn't need her correction. She knows who she is. She knows the strength within her. And for that reason, she doesn't need to prove it. People will call her cold. Others will label her distant. They'll say she should have spoken, should have reacted, but she understands the cost of stepping into mess. She knows how quickly you can lose your balance when you're pulled into fights that were never meant for you. So she doesn't defend herself. She doesn't argue. She rises above the noise, the lies, the chaos. Because she's learned that to grow, sometimes you must leave things behind. Every time she chooses stillness over reacting, she protects herself. Every time she walks away from something meant to shake her, she becomes stronger. Every time she refuses to explain herself to those who are determined not to understand her, she expands. She no longer takes on every battle. Some are just distractions. Some are traps. Some are not worth the energy of the woman she's grown into. Her strength is in her self-control. Her quiet is her shield. And her victory, it's in the fact that she's still standing, calm, focused, grounded, while everything around her may try to break her. She doesn't fall into traps. She doesn't panic. She doesn't fight for the sake of fighting, because deep down, she knows she's already won. Not everyone belongs in her life, and she's okay with that. She's not trying to be liked by everyone. She's not here to please a crowd. Her loyalty isn't for sale, and her time isn't for just anyone. She protects her peace like it's priceless, because it is. Once you've been let down, once you've been hurt by those you trusted, once you've smiled through betrayal, you start to see things differently. You learn that not everyone deserves access to your heart. She doesn't keep people around just to feel less lonely. She won't hold on to shallow relationships that take from her spirit. If it's not real, if it's not built on love, truth, and loyalty, she lets it go. She's not afraid of solitude, she grows in it. Because in the quiet, she finds herself again. In the stillness, she hears the truths the noise tried to drown. That's why she keeps her circle small, not because she doesn't like people, but because she understands energy. She knows that who you surround yourself with can either raise you up or tear you down. That's why she guards her space like it's sacred. She's realized that evil doesn't always come loud and angry. Sometimes it comes in friendly smiles. Sometimes those who cheer the loudest are the ones hoping you'll fail. She's felt that sting. That's why she watches more closely now. She listens beyond words. She doesn't let labels like friend or family cloud her judgment anymore. She doesn't need a crowd around her. She just needs the right ones. The ones who lift her without envy. The ones who have character, not gossip. The ones who show love when no one's looking. And if she doesn't find those people, she's perfectly fine walking alone. Because peace with herself is worth more than chaos with others. She would rather stand alone in truth than be surrounded by sweet lies. Her spirit remains pure because she does the work. She's not only guarding herself from others, she's honest with herself too. She confronts her own flaws. She takes responsibility for her mistakes. She forgives, not because they always deserve it, but because she refuses to carry around hate. That's her real protection, not letting darkness take root inside her. She understands what you hold on to shapes what you attract. So she releases bitterness. She lets go of jealousy. She walks away from vengeance. Not because she's weak, but because she's wise. She knows that a clean heart can hear clearly, that blessings come freely when the soul isn't blocked. Bitterness is where evil grows, and she won't water that. She chooses to heal, and in doing so, she becomes untouchable. Wicked people can't guilt trip her. They can't toy with her emotions. They can't pull her into their confusion because she's not operating from old pain anymore. She's in alignment now. Her small circle is her fortress. It's not about numbers, it's about truth. Truth connects with truth. Loyalty finds its match. Her world is built on authenticity, not popularity. That's why evil can't touch her. Darkness doesn't survive where the soul is this pure. A clean heart makes the hidden filth in others uncomfortable. It makes manipulators panic. It makes users walk away because there's nothing left for them to take. She doesn't chase people. She doesn't beg for love. She doesn't try to force what isn't flowing. If it's not mutual, if it's not honest, she releases it. She knows anything you have to push for isn't meant to stay. And what truly belongs in her life won't demand her to lose herself to keep it. That's why she sleeps peacefully, not because everything is perfect, but because her soul is at rest and her circle is real. And no matter how deeply she cares, if someone disturbs her peace, she'll choose herself every time. Not because she's cold, but because she's careful. She's not afraid of being alone. She's afraid of losing her soul in the wrong connections. She's afraid of giving herself to people who only take. She's afraid of going back to the cycles she fought so hard to break. That's why she stays cautious, not closed, just wise. And when something feels off, she listens. Because she's learned, peace is a signal. Chaos is a warning. Her circle is made up of those she doesn't have to watch. Their loyalty shows in how they live. Her spirit stays light because she's done the inner work. Her life is guarded, not because she fights off every evil, but because she simply doesn't let it enter. That's why she walks strong. That's why she moves with courage. She's not weighed down by past hurt. She's not dragging old wounds. She's not tolerating two-faced kindness. Her life is grounded in truth, and that truth cannot be shaken. Not by betrayal, not by deception, not by evil wrapped in charm. Her world is tight, her soul is clean, and that peace, that's her armor. There's something truly powerful about a woman who doesn't panic when everything around her falls apart. While others grab for control, she remains steady. While others shout, she stands in silence. Her peace isn't dependent on what's happening outside. It lives within her.